Hello everyone, it's Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo here for another Star Citizen Annex Anonymous ship review. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite spacecraft in the game, and that's in the game currently, and that is the Aegis Dynamics Avenger. Now, Aegis Dynamics is one of the older companies. They've been making military ships for quite a long time, and the Aegis Dynamics is an aged example of one of them. It was big back in the 2700s, the late 28th century, and racked up tons and tons of kills. But as time went on, it started to show its age, and it was replaced by the much more maneuverable and sturdier fighter, the F-7 Hornet. However, the Aegis Dynamics Avenger just would not go away. It was picked up by advocacy and local law enforcement, and it was used until recently as the primary police interceptor. And that, of course, is being replaced by something that's a lot smaller, a lot faster, and a lot lighter, the M50. Now, something that little of us know about is that there is a two-seater version of this that may or may not be in the game. It seems like they may be changing lore on this just a tiny bit. And the two-seater version is supposedly the first spacecraft that any of the UEE Navy or Marine pilots see when they start flight training. Well, that's not going to be the case here. They're going to probably remove that two-seat version trainer from what I've read in some posts, but hopefully I'm wrong about that. Today, the Avenger is still around. Its space frame has been updated and altered and corrected, or whatever you want to say, modified. And it's marketed towards the bounty hunter, but there are also going to be some other versions. We know of at least 3 to 5 versions that will be coming out from CIG in the near future, probably in 1.2 or 1.3 of Arena Commander. Today we're going to look at the base version, which will probably change as time goes on. The Avenger is one of the, I would say it's one of the first spacecraft that we got in the hangar. I know we got the Constellation, we got the Hornet, we got the 300 series, and the Avenger was the first additional aircraft or spacecraft that we can get. And I did a review way back, and even did a review where I compared it to the 325A. Now, the Avenger's been upgraded quite a few times. Back then, there was no center compartment. There was a rear compartment. There was a forward pilot area, and there was no way to get between the two. But they've made it more or less a better single-person space fighter than it was in the past. I'm very impressed by the model of the craft, but we're going to go over and we're going to start talking about it in just a little bit. For now, I've got to make some changes to the Avenger just to be able to fly it in combat. So we're going to jump right onto that. So last week, I did a little bit of a state of the game. I did 2 last week, and one of them was about the cost of weapon systems in the game today, currently. And I was stating that they should give us ways to earn that. And it has been said by Ben, I went back and read, and even listened to my own show where he said he would be doing that. But still, that is not the case. The problem here is that the Avenger is set up for something that would be to take down a ship without taking it out. And it's equipped with 2 Joker Sucker Punch cannons. Now, they're going to freak out the electric systems, and essentially if you hit somebody enough with it, it's going to disable that ship. So then you can move in, board it, have your man-to-man, spaceman to spaceman, woman-to-woman combat, and take over the ship. But that doesn't work in Arena Commander where we're fighting Vandul or we're fighting each other. It's something that needs to go rather quickly. So I'm going through my different weapons here, and you're going to see I get into kind of a bind trying to figure out how to make this work, because the interface still, I know they said they're going to correct it, but this is a horrible interface. And there was an interface that they showed off in the beginning about what this table was going to look like, and it no longer looks like that. Very disappointed when I went through here after so long of not being here and tried to manipulate this to make it work for me. Anyhow, here I am going around trying to look at the different weapon systems, see what I'm going to take off, what I'm going to put on. And what I realize is that the underwing of the Avenger is only going to be able to handle a size 1 laser cannon or size 1, class 1 weapon. So, or I think that's class 2, sorry. So I go about my way of trying to look at my different ships and see which one has weapons I don't need. And I come upon, at some point in the future, the Gladiator, and I take off this 2 CF-117s from the turret, and that's what I use in this match. Now, the reason I went with the laser cannons is that the primary weapon on this spacecraft doesn't seem ready for prime time. And what I mean by that is it's supposed to be a hard-hitting, take them out, destroy them type cannon. And it really isn't that at all yet. This is alpha. Actually, we're still pre-alpha. We're still in a game that we're trying to figure out the systems. But I digress. The ship just doesn't have the punch, the power to actually take things out. And here I am finding out that the Gladius has sucker punches on it too, which totally just does not make sense to me. I mean, that's a ship that's supposed to destroy things, not take them out slowly. Alright, so I'm going to jump ahead yet again. I shouldn't complain about this, but it's a long walk to find it. I thought I put it over here with the other military ships, but this evidently is not a military ship. It's actually a civilian ship, so it's over here with an Aurora LX. Alright, so let's talk about the Aegis Dynamics Avenger. It's 19 meters long, 14.25 meters wide, and has a 5.4 meter height. It's 13,400 kilograms. So average size. As we walk around it, we can talk about what it was supposed to have, which was a TR5, and we know that's not going to be the case. I think it's a TR3 or a TR4. It comes equipped with one HL 2.4, 8 TR1 maneuvering thrusters, and those are the M116s. It's got a shield class of 3, which is pretty hefty duty for this, and that's a Hornet, I can't pronounce it, HORNISSE 36. Now, the main weaponry on here are 2 Joker Sucker Punch distortion cannons, which are meant to disable a ship with enough hits. And the main weapon in the front is actually the Tiger Streak, or I don't know how to call it. It's, I guess we don't call it a Tiger Streak because somebody said that was actually the wrong way to say it in German. But that gun right there is supposed to be akin to an 810 today, which has the hitting power of a ton of bricks hitting your face at 1,000 miles an hour. Doesn't really happen. These missiles are freaking awesome, and you'll see them in game. I don't know what they're called. I kind of forget. But they decimate a target and launch out really fast. The ship itself has seen one big major overhaul when it went from normal rendering to PBR. And in that case, it was also given a whole new interior. So we actually have a sleeping area and a holding area. And I can tell you this. With the advent of a number of different variants of this ship, I'm sure we're going to see that change. Currently, you get in only through the back end, and that's in through here. And it's kind of tough to do it. These are holding cells, which are totally different from the holding cells that are on the police cruiser, the Cutlass Blue. It's got a lot of room back here for some other stuff. I could see this as a personal transport. You could fit like about 10 or 12 troops in here to maneuver them or land them in a hot zone. And this area over here, we can see from the Mustang Beta, which is a lot smaller, that they could probably put a galley in here. There's the bed over there. You could probably make this look very nice over here. Currently, this is decked out for storage in this area, I guess. But just use your imagination. This is going to go through another overhaul. We're going to have the variants coming out in the next 3 to 5 weeks, I am sure. Lots of space up here, lots to do up here, and I can't wait to see what they do. If this had been a real spaceship, there'd probably be like some kind of foil or something covering those pipes and everything over there. And this is how you get in, kind of akin to the 300 series. And when you get in here, it's got amazing visibility, and we'll take a look at that in the end. So let's get into a match and see how we do. Alright, here we go. So I love the startup voice of the computer. It sounds kind of robotic. I love how they're starting to give the HUDs a different look and feel. It's starting to become more and more a cool game, and obviously that's inside your helmet, right? One thing I don't like is I can't see the radar that much on here. It's the only minor complaint I have. I wish it was lifted up just a tiny bit. I do have that wonderful all-round visibility I thought I'd have. I don't like that, but I know it's realistic and a real-life fighter would see it. The ship is very maneuverable. I mean, it takes a little bit getting used to at first. I went into the system preferences and changed my I guess you could call it my curves, my sensitivity on my joystick. And I don't play with decoupling in this ship at all because I find it a little bit difficult at this point to do it when not flying this one that often. But like I said, very maneuverable. Putting the CF-117s on here was a godsend because when I tried to capture this video with just the Joker sucker punches, it did not go well. First off, they don't fire a lot of bolts at once, and they overheat fast, and they fire very slow, and the bolts move at a very slow speed, so you really have to have somebody in your sights to do it. I'm sure that's something that will change over time as they begin to balance the different weapon systems, but this worked out for me very well. I don't know what I was expecting from the main cannon in the front. Obviously, inside of Arena Commander, you cannot have one ship so overpowered that it takes out all the other ships with ease. But then again, we do have the Super Hornet, and that's exactly what it does. And at this particular point, I feel like the Mustang Delta was a much better fighter for me in this particular game genre, which is the Vandal Swarm. Now, I haven't gotten any PvP action in with this. I will probably try that soon. But based on what happens to me in a very quick fashion in this game, I think it happens when I meet the Little King. I think that I would probably be owned. I'm not flying the ship as well as I should. I am finding it very, very easy to maneuver in this ship. I just kind of wish that Afterburner still was an Afterburner and Boost was separate. Not to say that I thought it was overpowered before, it was not. But I think having that Afterburner, being able to move away from somebody really fast, actually does help. It would make for interesting gameplay in an area like this where you have a lot of different debris around that you could hide behind, whether it be the debris from blown up stations or the debris from the blown up moon. I think that would actually be pretty cool. The explosions that they have now are akin to something that you would see in a Michael Bay movie. They are just epic, and I think they're making that work very well. And I definitely have to learn how to key map the different modes for the control, because as you can see, I'm over controlling here, and I really want to fine tune my control a little bit. Very easy to over control in this vessel. I did not find that to be the case inside the Hornet, which seemed to go where I told it to go in a much slower, not much slower, but in a slower fashion than this. This, I moved the joystick just a little bit, and it wants to go in that direction, which I think is going to make it a harder fighter in capable hands to take out, and an easier fighter to maneuver behind somebody, but it's going to take a skilled hand. Now, I will go back into this just one more time. This ship is a bounty hunter ship. It is not meant to hold its own against fighters like the Gladius, which replaced it, or the Hornet, which is definitely a much higher end fighter than this. But remember, when you're out there, chances are you're not going to be fighting wave after wave of Vandal until you finally die. And in most situations, when you're off trading and flying between places, you're not going to have 20 other or 10 other or 5 other people all out to get you for no reason inside of the actual game. I think there'll be a lot of people that are going to be pirates, but I think because you're going to have 100 systems, it's going to be hard to actually find some of them at times, and most of the interactions in a game world this big are going to be between squads where you're actually protected by other people, or one-on-one or two-on-one, which you should be able to handle rather easily. Unless, of course, you're going up against somebody as bad as me, and then you just need to run the other way because you'll laugh yourself to death by seeing me fight. Alright, so a couple of things I liked about this particular ship are the visibility and the maneuverability. And I do not like the initial weapon loadout. I'm going to ask Ben in this week's 5 for the CM why they came up with the pricing that they did of the weapons, and why they didn't wait for the game to actually go live or get closer to going live to actually see how that was going to pan out. Because right now, if I want to change out a couple of these weapons, it's going to cost me almost as much as the ship in some cases to get the weapon loadout that I want. Thankfully, I own enough ships where I could rob from Peter to pay Paul. In other words, scavenge from one ship and put it on the other so I can have a good game. I don't really have anything negative to say about the weapon loadout right now, except for you really need to be paying attention to the ammunition and that nose cannon. I think it only carries one reload of that, and with that said, it's going to go pretty fast. If you're getting up to round 12 and you haven't lost a ship, you're going to wind up losing a ship before that gets reloaded. Now, I'm not sure if those get reloaded like missiles do. I've never played a ship with a ballistic ammunition before, so I know that my missiles get reloaded after certain levels, and I'd like for you to comment below if you also get reloaded on something like ballistics. Alright, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to try to go up to a point where I get blown up a little so you can see what that looks like. So I got to level 3, no problem, wave 3, and I failed to go after the king, the little king, and that's something that you should never do. The first ship you should always target is the elite and just forego attacking anybody else. But I got fixated on this one character trying to get out this scavenger, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the king launches a missile, and he just takes me out. He took out every weapon system on my ship with one go. Look at it. Look at that ship just destroyed. You could see the interior of it. If anybody was in the back there, they'd be spaced at this point. My wings are shot. All of my weapon systems gone at once. There ain't nothing that I'm able to do. Nothing. So, one thing I'll tell you is that this ship is amazing to play. I really like it, and I think it's something that you should have a lot of fun with if you're one of the people that purchased it. If you're going to be a bounty hunter, I'm not sure how good this is going to be as one until the game goes live, of course. Until then, I think that you really should just, if you have one of these, take it out and fly it every now and then. It's a gorgeous ship and one of my favorites in the game, and look for it to be updated real soon. I bet you anything that once we get the variants, they're going to be quite a few. I believe it's between 3 and 5. We're going to see some things that they're doing with the inside that we didn't think of ourselves. There were quite a lot of suggestions when the ship first came out as to what to do with the interior. This is what they settled on for now. I know that's going to change. Also, the animations are pretty much updated in this, so I can't wait to see what we have as time goes on. So this is my update, and I'm making sure I say that, to my original Avenger review that you'll find back in the Starship review section of my YouTube channel. That was done over a year ago, and I'll continue to do these as things get updated. Expect another one of these to come within the next month or two after... I keep saying today. I really apologize for that. But after they update the variants of this, or I should say release the variants and brochure and commercial for the Avenger. Well, folks, that was today's video, and I need to make an announcement at this particular point. We reached 2,000 subscribers. That is amazing. Thank you all so very much for your help in getting there. And with that, that makes this the last video that counts towards the Drive to 2K subscriber contest. So I'll start getting everything ready, put up the initial spreadsheet within the next 48 hours, and then next week I'll have a drawing for the Redeemer. I do not know what the next prize is going to be, but I'll talk to Ben about that on the next 5 for the chairman, or 5 for the CM. Sorry about that, folks. Here I am decoupled, flying backwards. Well, thank you very much for joining me for this review of the Aegis Dynamics Avenger. If you like the video and want to see more like this, please click the like button, the thumbs up button below, and leave all your comments. Tell me what you think about the Avenger if you've had the opportunity to fly one. And with that said, you all be safe out there, and I'll talk to you soon.